Good morning everyone, my name is Michelle. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to another video, and it's easy like Sunday morning, but it's very muddy where I am. So yeah, I'm having to watch my footing very carefully this morning. Once again, I'm talking about Bryan Kohberger and the Idaho 4 murders. Now Bryan is in jail, there's going to be no significant movement in terms of the legal aspects of the case that we're going to know about. Obviously, there's going to be lots and lots going on behind the scenes. But there's another 6 months to wait until his preliminary hearing, which is scheduled for the 26th of June. But that does not stop. It does not stop the rumours. It does not stop the potential conspiracies and the angles that people make to things that are most probably unrelated. And this is what I want to get into in this video. You know, people send me stuff and I diligently look at it. Usually look at it and don't comment on it because it's not useful information, or it is, and I follow it up and it could well mean something. And it's interesting that News Nation have done a segment talking about, you know, those forum posts from 2011, the Tapper Talk posts that I've done a couple of live streams about. I'm 90% sure, in fact, I'm probably more than 90% sure that the young man who was like 15, 16, 17 years of age at the time, I think he would have been like 16 when he was making the posts in 2011, talking about visual snow and his mental health. As News Nation pointed out, the birthday matches, there's an old email that's alleged to be Bryan's that has been linked to this forum. So we've got no reason to believe that it isn't Bryan. And talking about his mental health, saying that he feels no emotion, he's got little remorse for things, and he just can't connect. You know, he thinks of people as pieces of meat. And there's no reason to think that he hasn't grown out of thinking about people as pieces of meat and having no emotion or remorse, you know, key traits of psychopathy. Talked about this a lot in live streams. So if you don't watch my live streams, you are missing out on a lot of information. So I do have a live streams playlist. I have an Idaho 4 murders playlist, but I also have a live streams playlist. Every live that I do, whether it's on this channel or Michelle Walks, goes into that playlist. So check it out. I'll leave a link to it in the cards that'll pop up on the right hand side of your screen about now. Yeah, I think News Nation made some good points here. It's 2011. We don't want to stigmatise mental health. The vast majority of people with mental health problems do not go on to become quadruple murderers. Is it related to the murders themselves? No, probably not, because this is 2011. But it gives us an insight into Bryan's personality. And I think for that reason, I think these posts are relevant. Not relevant to his defence or to the prosecution, but just relevant to us understanding Bryan Kohberger as an individual. So, yeah, I'd put a tick to the possibility that this is really Bryan. But the rest of the rumours that are circulating at the moment, I'm not that impressed by, I have to say. I'm not impressed by. There's a post that was made on a Facebook group, and quite a few people have told me about this, and I know a number of creators have talked about this. I think this is a troll, honestly. Without further information, I can't believe this. Would this kind of thing, though, form Bryan's defence? Guys, come on, it's a reach. But it's out there, it's here, so I'm going to read it to you. And it comes from a Facebook group. It's made anonymously, so we don't even know. We don't even have a first name. So I'm posting anonymously because Bryan is my family. And you people in this group act like vultures and rabbit raccoons. Bryan is innocent, and you will see he has been framed by his drug partner friend. the security guard from the university. They were doing drugs together in the parking lot, as they had done numerous times. But when security guards started acting like a peeping Tom outside the girl's window. So this alleged family member is saying that Bryan and the security guard drove all the way to Moscow to sit in a parking lot near 1122 King Road just to do drugs. Why? Why? Why would they choose that parking lot? But then Bryan did not like the fact that the security guard started acting like a peeping Tom outside the girl's window. And he left the security guard and drove back to his apartment. Okay, so Bryan's got the car, drove back to his apartment, leaving the security guard there with no transport back to wherever he comes from. And the reason why the phone is off is because the battery was flat and the security guard was using the car charger. So if Bryan had drove back to his apartment, wouldn't he be able to just charge his phone at his apartment? Why would his phone be pinging all around town? Like, the timings just don't make sense. If Bryan left the security guard, now presumably this is just before the murders, which took place between 4:04, when that car was seen manoeuvring, doing a 3-point turn at the intersection of Queen Road and King Road. So the security guard must have got out, done the murders, and then where does the security guard go? Because at 4:20, that car is seen speeding away from the area. So it doesn't make sense. But Bryan put his phone on charge when he left the parking lot, and he switched it back on when he was near to his apartment. But no, no, because that car and that phone was seen pinging all around the area, not a straightforward route back to his apartment. And I thought that the security guard was using the car charger, but Bryan had left him. Doesn't make sense. Bryan's knife was in the car and the security guard was holding it because he was using it to chop the cocaine lines. What, you use a K-bar knife to chop cocaine lines? How much cocaine are you using? Come on now. Come on now. Yes, I said cocaine because Bryan stopped heroin years back and substituted the drug with cocaine. He has tried hard to stop everything, but he's an addict and has bad migraines, so the cocaine actually helps him. I'm not sure that cocaine is a useful treatment, a self-medication for the for the alleviation of migraines. That's a new one on me. He had no idea a security guard was going to do what he did, and he just wanted to teach the security guard a lesson by leaving him behind. So Bryan left him behind and went driving all around the area, right, with the phone off for an hour and a half because the security guard was using the car charger, but Bryan had the car. It doesn't make sense. You people need to stop with these singing videos and funny pictures of Bryan and my dad, or we will sue you for everything you have. Well, good luck with that. Good luck with that. So presumably, if you say my dad, it must be one of his sisters. I don't believe it. I think this is a troll who doesn't understand the timeline. So I'm going to leave that one there. Anyway, another set of rumours that have come out is quite a few people have directed me to this live stream. It's by a channel called Drunk Turkey Show. There's a reason why I don't do call-ins on my channel. It's because you get nutters. And look, I'm not calling this woman a nutter. I'm not. But I just can't believe anything she's saying. And she's trying to link the shooting that happened in December in Pullman with the murders. So I'm going to play you a few seconds of this. I'll leave a link to it in the description box. This is a woman called Kim calling in to the Drunk Turkey Show.
And I'll honestly be honest, because I don't think it was his knife. I think it was the guy who SWAT killed December 15th night.
Right, there was a incident at WSU involving a guy who was threatening to cause harm, unalive, when we use that term, his roommates, and he had to have been taken out by lethal means by the SWAT team. And
correct.
I'll be honest with you, I went looking for information on that case, and I found out his name and who he was. And this guy was an older guy. He was in his above, I think it was
38.
30, yeah, like in the upper 30s.
PTSD, right? Military PTSD.
Right.
He also is in UI Tech. He works for the University of Idaho Tech Department.
Wow. And so.
And Tech was down that night. So when they're saying they're getting pings or whatever, first of all, he'd been in the house before a plethora of times. He was an invited guest into that home before. And I do know this because, well, obviously I'm here now, and what are they going to do? My daughter, because we knew it, my daughter knew at 10 a.m. It was Parents' Weekend, the weekend it occurred.
Right.
And so we went to get my daughter for breakfast, and then, and my son to go to breakfast and go to whatever, grocery shopping or whatever before we left. And on the way home, we get this alert. It was like 5 o'clock. We come over to the other side of the mountains. Our kids are about 6 hours away. And so we came home and we get this alert, and I called my daughter and I'm like, hey, what's going on? And she's like, oh, I already know, Mom. I knew that this morning, like around 10. I'm like, how did you know? And so anyway, as it all comes out, as I immediately called the FBI and told them every bit of information I had been given from my daughter and her roommate for them. They weren't there, but then we found out somebody was not telling the truth, so we had to call back. And
Right, I'm going to leave it there. I mean, it's just complete garbled BS, in my opinion. That somebody her daughter knew that the murders had occurred at 10 a.m., even though 911 wasn't called till nearly midday, and then she rang the FBI, but then she had to call them back because that information turned out to be wrong. No shit, Sherlock. But this guy is actually called Brent Kopacka, who was the guy who was shot to death by a SWAT team, December 14th. There was some kind of standoff going on. So she got that right. She got the fact that he was ex-military and he was suffering from PTSD. She got that right. He's a tech guy at the University of Idaho, and the network at the University of Idaho went down on the night of the murders. Well, I know that was a thing that was discussed, and this shooting also was a thing that was discussed. But she's putting all of this together, and instead of getting 4, she's getting 4 million. So let's break this down. This has come to light again, even though at the time that this occurred in December, it was deemed not related, an unrelated incident. It just happened to be in Pullman, which we then find out later was where Bryan Kohberger lived. But this guy, Brent, and Bryan Kohberger didn't live near each other. They lived at opposite sides of WSU campus. It's like nearly 2 miles that they lived apart. Now, that doesn't mean to say that they don't know each other. We've no evidence that they did know each other, other than the rumours online. So this was 36-year-old Brent Kopacka, who died from a gunshot wound early Thursday morning. So that would have been Thursday the 15th. So the incident actually occurred on the night of the 14th. Coroner Annie Pillars has ruled the manner of death homicide. Pullman police were called to the apartment on Wednesday night for a report that a man was threatening to kill his roommates. He barricaded himself inside the apartment and started firing a gun from the unit. After unsuccessful negotiations, Pullman police reported that the man escalated his behaviour and continued to put the public and officers in danger. Kopacka was shot and killed by a member of the Whitman County Regional SWAT team. The name of the officer hasn't been released. They have released that name now, and there is an investigation going on. But there's no evidence that Brent Kopacka knew Bryan Kohberger, or that Brent Kopacka knew the Idaho 4 victims, although this woman, Kim, seems to believe that he'd been in that house numerous times and seems to be linking the power outage or the network outage at the University of Idaho with the murders. But the victims did not live on campus. It was an off-campus. So I don't know that any of that is relevant anyway. The rumours just go mad. And this just shows you just how crazy some of the rumours have got. Now, this is Medium, and Medium put some decent articles together, but this is just crazy. So, Idaho 4, the Brent Kopacka angle. Was anyone else arrested? Now, Bryan did ask, allegedly, according to the lawyer, Jason LaBar, that he had when he was in Pennsylvania, just to see him through see him through the extradition. He asked if anyone else had been arrested. And I think that was a game. He was saying that because other killers have said that to the police when they were arrested. Apparently, John Wayne Gacy did. There's others. Yes, there's speculation that there's another person involved. Personally, I think he was a lone wolf. I could be persuaded. But at the moment, I think he was a lone wolf. And he did it regardless of what this alleged family member says, regardless of what random people calling into YouTube shows say. I believe that they have the right man, but no, Brent Kopacka is somebody that we need to look at. So this article says, until June, minus potential leaks, all we have is speculation and theories. Let's leave the families out the best we can, although I'm still confused about Dylan stuff, to be honest. Well, I'm not, and I've done a live on that as well, so I'm not confused about that. You may remember during the case timeline, before we had a suspect, there was a SWAT shooting in Pullman, and some YouTubers were saying this must be connected, but it wasn't, though. And then on a random thread, Reddit, BK reportedly asked a neighbour whether they'd be able to kill someone as a member of the military. In another conversation, the neighbour told CBS Mornings that Kohberger asked if he had watched the Netflix Dahmer Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story. Well, loads of people watched that. I watched that. Loads of you guys told me that you watched it. We've talked about it in chats. We've talked about it. Some of you guys and me have had a conversation about this. It was a very popular show. So the fact that Kohberger, a criminology student, is talking to somebody about the Dahmer series, yeah, it's believable. It's believable. But the fact that he's interested in this doesn't make him a killer. It's interesting, though. He said in that conversation, Kohberger mentioned how rare serial killers are. The neighbour recalled a third conversation in which Kohberger asked whether he'd be able to kill someone as a member of the military. But we don't know that this neighbour that he was talking to was Brent Kopacka, because Brent Kopacka lived 2 miles away. So it can't be him, because surely that's not a neighbour. If you live 2 miles away, you're not a neighbour, are you? Okay, so member of the military. Did anyone else get arrested? I think that was a game. Member of the military is somebody who's living 2 miles away, not a neighbour. If you want to bring in a third thing, it's that Pullman SWAT incident was mentioned by both Indiana state troopers on the pullovers as Bryan and his dad drove back. Yeah, but no, the state troopers didn't mention it. It was Bryan's dad that brought it up that there'd been a shooting in Pullman. And Bryan was like, crapping himself. If looks could kill. Bryan was really concerned that his dad was talking about it. He didn't want the conversation to get round to the Moscow murders, did he? And then this Medium article starts talking about unconfirmed, rampantly incorrect Twitter account that I'm not even going to publicise the name of, because it's absolute nonsense. New forensic evidence has been unearthed at the former residence of Bryan Kohberger that ties him and one other person directly to the massacre of the fort, according to a secondary source. There was no secondary source. This is not new forensic evidence. It absolutely is not. And then another one. Ethan Chapin was singled out by his killer for especially brutal, completely barbaric mutilation overkill. The fact barely hinted at by mainstream media will play a major role at trial. We don't know. We don't know what injuries Ethan had. It's not been released. Ethan's family haven't talked about his injuries, so we don't know. Kaylee's dad said there was an almighty battle on the second floor. Maybe there was. And maybe Ethan's injuries were severe because he fought back. But these rumours, I think we're going to see more and more. I think they'll die down eventually. And then it'll all start again in June. I find it interesting when people send me stuff, but when somebody is making this connection and that connection and that connection, you know, you're getting into the realms of multiple connections, none of which can be confirmed. So therefore, I put that in the nonsense bucket. And I've got a very big nonsense bucket, I have to tell you. So anyway, guys, that's the video. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. I've been Michelle. Hope you're well. I'll see you in the next video. It's goodbye from Miss Tillington and Miss Cassie Springer. Bye, guys.